Thank you very much. You know, Susan got the joke out about the Capitals and the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs here, and I thought I'd get a little rise from the crowd who are in the Washington area or Caps fans. I think Toronto's winning the series currently. So we'll see tonight, though. I wrote down a couple of notes here listening to Michael talk about what's going on at MicroStrategy, and I'll try and work some of those into my content this morning. One's around governance of applications. One's around the eradication of Excel. I'll talk a little bit about the explosion of mobile. And lastly, a little bit about predictive information. Okay? So here's some of the requisite background on who Loblaws is. We're Canada's largest retailer. We're the market leader in both grocery, in terms of the grocery business, and in the drugstore business. We conduct about 1 billion retail transactions a year. We have over 2,300 stores. We employ almost 200,000 people. And last year, our revenue was about 45 billion Canadian, which, I don't know the conversion, but it's 35 billion US or something like that. Okay? We operate a number of retail banners. We operate a number of control brand product portfolios with a leading food brand in Canada called President's Choice, the leading health and beauty product line called Life Brand. We have a retail real estate business. We've got a consumer bank. We have a an apparel business. We've got a wide variety of businesses, and all quite diverse. And I'm going to tell you a bit about Milestones, or our journey to this point. And it all kind of started in 2010 when we embarked on an SAP implementation. And if you look way to the right of the slide, you can see in 2015, we concluded our grocery rollout on SAP. So today, all of our business transacts very nicely on SAP. But in that intervening period, we had a few things happen. We spun out our real estate business. We introduced a new loyalty program. And then we bought this company called Shoppers Drug Mart for $12 billion, which was Canada's leading drugstore business. Okay? So, you know, we've got a lot going on, a lot of different systems, a lot of data flying all over the place. Okay? So, in about 2013, we created maybe the third version of a vision around BI. And what were we going to do, and how are we going to take advantage of all this all these transactions, all this information that was in our network. How are we going to do this? Well, our foundation is SAP in terms of the transaction engine. We had this vision of a highly controlled, centralized reporting platform that allowed people to get at information very easily in a highly standardized, structured way that was easy to deploy. Okay? It needed to be flexible to allow businesses to look at it for their slice and their segments. Okay? And we wanted some governance around this so that, you know, when people looked at, and I'll use revenue as an example, you think as a grocery store, understanding what revenue is pretty easy. Well, it's not really that easy. It's very complicated. But by having good governance, every time someone picked up a field that said revenue, we were assured that we were going to have good information being shared. Okay? And this strategy was all there to help us get through what we call the journey of analytics. And I'm sure many people have seen this, or a version of this chart, which really kind of says, as you evolve, you get from, you know, reporting what happened historically to trying to understand why things happened. Then you want to predict what's going to happen. And then you want to understand, what can I do to ensure an outcome? Okay? And I'll be honest, I bet you when we started this journey, we weren't even on the page. We'd be off on the left there, somewhere worse than that. So this all worked really well. Right? It was terrible. Our reality at Loblaws was that over the years, because there was a lack of any kind of centralized tool set or platform, we had little reporting groups all over the company. Okay? And these were not highly structured groups. They weren't tightly controlled. There was very little governance. And as a result, we had ETL activity going on all over the place, tons of Excel going on. Reporting was an email function where people would create reports in Excel and email those out. And it took us, it took us a long time to start to break the back of this infrastructure. And that's the big story here, is that people were involved, and lots of people. And it was how people were used to doing things and how people were used to getting information. And this was some of our biggest hurdles. So in an effort to start to get under all this, we created a group we called the BICC, okay? And it's nothing fancy, it's just the Business Information, I keep wanting to say inside, Business Information Competency Center. And it's a small group, it's about 30 people, maybe 25 people, and they really have two core functions. One is we have a group that's focused on governance, okay? Focused on understanding what metrics our business needs to run, how do we define those, what are the calculations, what are the labels and reports and views supposed to be, how do you trend those? This is what governance does. It's not a bureaucratic means to stifle creativity in analytics. It's really there to make sure that what's being produced ties to what we want in terms of standards around information. The larger part of this group is what we call the info producers. And these are folks who are basically, they're running our MicroStrategy platform. They're our cube builders. They're the ones who work with our business units to solve problems. The business units will come with a problem or a reporting need. The BICC team will work with them to develop prototyping, very quick. I don't want to use the word agile. We're not an agile shop. It's just a quick iterative process. This can take days to weeks. That's it. Okay? And the BICC team actually sits outside of IT. Okay, we call it business-led. Okay? And this is our operating model, how we interact with both IT, our business partners, and the BICC team itself. So the business will come to the BICC with, as I say, a problem, a question, a reporting need. And we'll work on a prototyping effort with them. It'll be quick, fast. We'll stand it up in a development area of MicroStrategy. We'll create cubes. We'll create dashboards. We'll create query reports if they want. Okay? That'll go on until the business gets reasonably happy. Not perfection, but it has to be accurate, has to be able to produce on a timely basis, and it has to give them the resolution or slices of data that they need to run their business. At that point, we'll turn it over to IT. And IT will put it into production. It goes into a bigger MicroStrategy environment. They take over all the cube refresh activity. They manage I get alerts if things aren't being updated on a timely basis. Okay? They put it into production. It's got substance behind it. It's high quality. Okay? Ongoing development, if they want to add a new dimension to the data, they want to add new fields to the data, the business and IT will generally work together to fulfill that. If they need the BIC's help, they will. But sitting in the middle throughout all this is our governance activity. Okay? This makes sure that the data that people are consuming and the information people are consuming is aligned with our BI strategy. And the BICC, this team, actually lives in the finance organization. And part of that is because all of you who are at public companies will have disclosure requirements and controls around disclosure. Having the BICC in finance really means we can give some great comfort around the controls that we get for our reporting that ultimately rolls up to our financial statements. So here's our journey. So when we started the BICC in 2013, it was a bunch of keen folks who great with data, great with working with our business. Shortly thereafter, early in 2014, we rolled out our first vendor or visual insight cubes to our business. And these were focused around the core parts of our business. It was around sales. I'm a retailer. It was around sales and margin and inventory. Okay? And it wasn't a resounding success. Okay? It was a change for our business users. It was a threat to all these little reporting teams that were throughout our business. And as a result, traction was difficult. Okay? In 2015, we rolled out our first mobile application. And again, we were focused on the core parts of retail. We talked about sales, we talked about inventory, we talked about margin, we talked about shrink. And we got more traction, but it wasn't what we'd hoped. And this is the part of the story where we had a big learning or a good aha moment. Our VI, our Visual Insights developers, were really good with data. They worked really well with our business partners, and they tried really hard. The problem was they weren't UI experts. So our UI to a developer looked pretty good. To a user, maybe it wasn't so good. So towards the end of 2015, we kind of rewrote the applications. Okay? We brought in, this is where I called Susan Cook for some help. We brought in some of our IT partners, and we created a new standard for our UI. And it's clearer, it's crisper, there's no training required. We've never deployed any training as we've deployed these mobile apps, and people are using it. In fact, adoption has kind of soared at this point. The UI that we've created, we're now using to expand into other content areas. As we bring on, if I've covered sales and margin and inventory because I'm a retailer, we're talking about labor, we're talking about market share, we're talking about all kinds of other data, content we call it, that we want in the mobile platform, but we're using the same UI over and over and over again. And it's really driving adoption. Okay? So here we are in 2017. We have a really functional mobile platform. What are we going to be focusing on? Well, in 2017, we're really testing out the transaction services features within MicroStrategy. And this is a means for us to take what's traditionally operational data. Again, I'm a retailer. We have people who check our food safety standards every day in every store. And right now, they're logging that activity on a clipboard, and I don't know, it goes in the back of the store somewhere, and it never really becomes data. Creating a mobile app where that same activity can be logged, I can now start to get to compliance around procedures, making sure that we have the highest food safety standards that we aspire to by being able to make sure that our food safety procedures are being followed on a regular basis. And then all of a sudden, I can start to take that operational data and marry it with my transaction data around inventory. I can start to correlate food safety issues with shrink, product loss. Okay? The other thing is we're starting to incorporate more third-party data. Everyone probably knows who Nielsen is. We'll be ingesting Nielsen data into the platform, which will allow people to start to do some work between sales and market share a little bit better. We'll be bringing in demographic and population data, which regions of Canada are growing fast, which regions are shrinking, and how's that having an impact on our performance. Okay? And then our 2018 and onwards plan is really how do we start to get predictive information being presented to our info consumers so that we can start to give them an insight into your trend or your path is this. If that's not where you want to be, what actions are you going to take to control your operations? Okay? So MicroStrategy is essentially our core reporting tool at this point. This is, coming back to eradicating Excel, we're desperately trying to eradicate Excel. So our MicroStrategy core is being consumed in a number of ways. Mobile is very popular. Its usage, though, is under 2 minutes. So it's people checking sales, it's people checking inventory positions, it's people looking at daily margin. We have a tablet view, which is slightly more robust. It has that next layer of data in it, and that's just a function of real estate. So here I can get to site-level information. I can get to trending. I can get to performance versus prior year and budgets and all those kind of things. And then if you really want to go deep, we still have all the web portals. So you can run queries, you can run prompted jobs, you can run dashboards, all on the web as well. And lastly, we still do produce a little bit of paper. And these are really kind of, I think Michael called them enterprise activities. At the end of a period, when our stores' P&Ls are finalized, we send a PDF to everybody. That's how they consume that. They don't need a fancy dashboard to consume their P&L. They're happy with the paper. And right now, that's where we're going to leave it. So, I guess the point I'm trying to get across here is that there's a great suite of tools available surrounding the MicroStrategy application. You just got to pick the right one for your audience. You got to pick the one that's going to be, it's going to give people the information they need to make better decisions. It's going to be timely. It's going to be quick. It's going to be intuitive. It's not going to cost you a lot to roll it out in terms of training and so forth. Okay, so back to our journey here on the world of analytics. I think maybe we're getting close to the middle of the page. We're certainly dramatically automating all of our reporting. We're giving people the information to understand why things happened. Were my sales up or down because I moved more tonnage, more units, or was my prices deflating or inflating? Were sales growing in certain regions? Were sales falling in certain banners, and so forth? We're giving them great visibility to that. The aspiration is to get out on the right-hand side of the page there and talk about optimization. How do I make sure I have the right products in the right store at the right time to satisfy consumers? That's the success of a retailer. Okay. And here's my closing. Here are my learnings. When we put mobile in the hands of our top executives, they can monitor performance really well. And the minute they started asking their teams about performance based on the mobile app, everyone had to have the mobile app to stay ahead of their boss. You've got to push down. We tried from the bottom up. It was too hard. Too many people had an opinion. Too many people had vested interest in keeping things the same. Okay? When we do 1 billion retail transactions a year, looking at everything is really, really hard. And part of what the Visual Insights tool is allowing us to do is to get people to focus on the outliers in the activity. For the statisticians in the room, if I have sales performance that's at 2% in a period, and I don't really want to worry about the stores or the activities or the categories that are sitting within one standard deviation of the average. I really want to understand where sales performance was poor, and I really want to understand where sales performance was exceptional, and what can I learn from those? Okay? Slowly, our business is changing its decision-making paradigm. We've traditionally been a bit of a belly-rubbing organization. People will sit back and rub their stomach and say, I think sales are going to go up 3% this period. And they'll call that a forecast. And we'll price that. We used to price on that basis. Oh, one of our competitors had an ad on turkeys last Thanksgiving. We better be really sharp this year. And they'll pull a number out of the air, and they'll call that the price per pound of turkey. We're changing that. We're starting really to look at using the information that the transactions within SAP and our other systems being presented through MicroStrategy are allowing them to start to make better decisions. Okay? And this cannot be a push from IT and finance and other central groups. The business has to pull, from a demand standpoint, BI information. You can't have it. You can't sit there and push this on the business. It does not work, at least in our culture. In our culture, you had to show them what was possible. You had to show them snippets of what was possible and create demand and have them pull it from you. And then all of a sudden, things started moving. Okay? Listen, I can't stress that mobile was the enabler for us. But making sure that when your mobile user comes in to need more detail, it's exactly the same in the web. Okay? As we've reached this state of our journey, we're now really focused on getting more and more content onto the platform so that more and more correlations can start to be examined. Okay? I talked earlier about culture. You've got to get people comfortable with changing, and that's hard, really hard. A lot of people, it's their vested interest not to change things, and that's where the leaders have to come in. You've got to push that change through. And then lastly, governance. In our old world of having Excel-based stuff flying all over the place, you get into these meetings, and I call it the wild, wild west. You get in there, and people are dueling over whose numbers were right. Well, we don't have that anymore. We have one central source, one central set of metrics and measures, so that every time we pull a report, we pull a view, we pull a dashboard, everyone's consuming the same information. That discussion is gone. Now we're on to what are we going to do about it? Okay? So it's taken us a long time. You can see we started in 2010, and it's 2017. And we're still not there. We're much happier with where we are now, and we have a pretty good plan as to where we're going. But it was a long, hard journey to get us this far. Anyway, I think that's all I had for you. Thank you very much. Enjoy the day.